Boom, we are off another episode of Booze Your Daddy, the podcast. I'm Dr. Alan Snyder, and I'm here with a guest today. The guy goes by Jonesy. He's a professional comedian, pretty funny dude. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Doc. Thanks for having me on Booze Your Daddy, which is probably the greatest of all podcast titles, I'd have to say, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty funny. So the background I've explained to our listeners, but I have a co-host sometimes, and we refer to each other as Boo, like, oh, you're my Boo, and it's just a friend thing. And I've always had a cheesy nickname of Daddy, which is not a sexual thing. It's always been more like a...
Sure. Is that what you tell people?
It's the truth. And anytime and my current girlfriend, if I ever do drop a daddy would like some dinner, she goes, oh, yeah, well, what should mommy expect? And I'm like, no. Okay, we're done with this. No, we're not doing that. So it has its meanings. And so just to give you your props, because I did a little bit of research on you, and you correct me where I missed, is you've been in Gotham, Drunk History, and The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah. I've been on a few TV shows. I was on Letterman as well, and Nurse Jackie and Blue Bloods. And I was when I was living in New York City, which is where you live. We just talked about that. I was on most of the shows that were taping there. And that was before I decided to move to LA because, once you're on the shows, they don't really have you on again. And I was like, I kind of exhausted New York City. And then I bounced to go to LA to be on different shows out here. And it didn't work out quite as I had hoped. But, it takes a while. These things take time. And, as you know, my whole industry shut down now because of this pesky virus. But I'm hoping that in 2021, I'll get on some more shows. That's what, fingers crossed.
All
Doc.
right. Well, thanks, dude. I wish you luck. And if there's anything I can do to help, obviously. So I was going to ask you, how long have you been in LA?
So it'll be coming up on 4 years.
Okay, very good. Where were you born and raised originally? And I have a follow-up to this.
Oh, I was born and raised in Massachusetts.
Okay. So I did my own little, stalking. I tried to do some research of you. And one thing I saw on your Facebook, I think, was something about the Pittsburgh 1979 World Series. And
Yeah.
I'm born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. And I was thinking, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have this jerk face on my podcast. Because as an Orioles fan, that hurt a little bit. We lost that. I wasn't born yet, and neither were you. But I know the history at least.
Yeah. So... And that's not your big time rival in baseball, is it? It's just you did lose the World Series to them.
In 79, now in football and in hockey, I actually won't even date a girl if she's from Pittsburgh because I hate the Steelers that much. As a Ravens fan, no chance.
Yeah, so you're a Ravens fan, which you're not gonna like. You probably know I'm a Pats fan. So
we're cool. We beat you guys. We have our things. We've taken turns with the world.
Sure, the Ray Rice game. I'll never forget that. We go back and forth. But I also, like you, cannot stand the Steelers. We hate the Steelers for
Perfect.
Sure. I hate those the AFC teams that I can't stand, Baltimore and the Steelers, and we had a rivalry with the Colts for a long time because of Peyton versus Brady, but that seems to have died down. Now I only posted that. It wasn't like I'm a Pirates fan. I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings with that. What I was amazed at was watching an older player, Willie Stargell, at the end of his career, just go off. And not only go off, but what really impressed me, and I've since then spoken to a Pirates fan at my job, and we spoke specifically, he's an older guy too, and he remembers this. It was the way that Willie Stargell, as a left-handed hitter, was just smashing the shit out of these very good left-handed Baltimore pitchers. And that pitching staff is famous. I mean, that pitching staff was, one of the best of all time, top to bottom. And he was just hammering. You normally don't see left-handed hitters hit left-handed pitchers quite like that. I was blown away by that video of him doing that. And that's the only reason why I shared it. It was sort of like a hitting clinic. I'm like, watch this motherfucker hit.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. We talked earlier where you and I have played softball and baseball and stuff. So I'm a baseball nerd, really, as I'm sure that you are as well. And so I study the greats, and when I saw him hit like that, I just wow, I've never seen an old dude hit like that. Wow.
Yeah, I think he won MVP that series, but yeah,
yes, he did.
He did. They won. It was a 7-game series, but then the Orioles came back 4 years later, won the World Series, but I was born a month after that, so I have not tasted a Baltimore Orioles World Series. And I have 2 Super Bowl wins. I have a Stanley Cup with my Capitals. My freshman year at the University of Maryland, we won the national championship in basketball. I would trade all of that for the Orioles to get to the World Series. They could get swept.
Really?
Dude, I love the Orioles so much.
Wow, that's crazy. Oh, that's so cool.
Oh.
Sounds crazy, but I was doing some research for a podcast that I want to do on the side. I do Weird AF News, and I thought I might do another podcast in the same theme, but I was going to call it, I'm calling it Weird AF Sports. And and I was researching some episodes for what will be the first season, and one of them was, because I want to do weird sports, okay, weird sports-related stories. One of them I thought might be the very famous 1989 Fleer Billy Ripken baseball card. Do you remember?
It said fuckface on the back. Come on.
Exactly. I was going to say, you remember the significance of that card. Well, there's a story behind it, and I thought that might be a fun, weird story to do right out of Baltimore. And
I think that's a great story, and most people actually don't even know that story. I know all my diehard Oriole fans are like, yeah, of course. And, of course, Billy Ripken now is just famous for being on MLB Network. But, he was the second baseman to the Cal's shortstop, and the card is fantastic. I think that would be a great episode. Sign me up to listen. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a very funny story, and a lot of people, like you said, of course, in Baltimore, everybody knows about it, and hardcore baseball card collectors, of course, know about that as well. But a lot of people in the mainstream don't know that happened, which I think is it's so weird and so funny. So I just love this. So I knew you'd appreciate that.
I definitely do. So keeping the sports theme, another thing that when I looked you up on YouTube, and had an interview from something you did about a month ago called Guy Code, and then 2 down, it said Jonesy, MMA Thai fight. And so I clicked that. Now, I'm a huge UFC nerd, and I clicked it and I watched it. Now, whether you were in it or not, which I'm guessing it was not you, I couldn't tell who was winning, who was losing, and which one you were. So let's just go ahead and clear the record. That is not you in that Thai fight?
No, I'm not in a Thai fight. No, not me at all. I don't do any sort of fighting like that.
It's just funny because, I don't know if I'm not big enough to ever Google myself, but if you ever look up to it, it's just 2 guys just going at it. I was like, wow, that would be badass if that was him. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I wish I was that much of a man. No, I'm more of a, you'll see me at shortstop. Nothing too filled with contact these days. I'll play flag football.
Right.
not even touch at this point.
And now you were telling me also before we signed on, you're into golf now, or you just tried golf?
I've tried golf because it seemed to be the most safest sport to play during the pandemic. I know ordinarily right now I'd be in the midst of softball season out here in LA, and I'm on 2 teams, and I'd be really enjoying myself. And I also love to play pickup basketball once a week as well. I'm not doing any of those things. My buddy suggested, one of the guys I play softball with suggested we play golf. He's good, and I am terrible. And I was telling you before we got on the recording how I'm an athlete, and I can't believe how difficult golf is. I can hit a fastball. I cannot get this ball to go straight. It looks easy when you watch it. Always looked easy to me. I thought this will be a breeze. Like I'm very skilled. Good hand-eye coordination. Really good. I cannot do this, man. Frustrating as hell. I even went to the driving range yesterday just by myself, hit a bucket of balls just to try a little bit to get a little bit better, because I'm so horrible and it's so embarrassing.
Yeah. So my line is, I don't need another thing in my life to be frustrated with, which is why I don't play golf. And if you haven't played your whole life, the driving range is decent because you just get out there and you hit the ball forever and ever and ever. But I've actually got suckered into playing a round of 18 with 3 guys, and they were scratch golfers, and it was my first time ever playing, and I was miserable. After 4 holes or so, I said, you know what? I'm just going to drink and drive the golf cart. I don't want to do this anymore.
I would have done the same thing if you put me on one of those full courses. I've only been doing the par 3s, and I can't even keep the thing on the fairway. It's just embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. And as an athlete and someone I take pride in like competition, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, definitely a lot of ego with that. I totally recommend that. So stick to the mini golf. I think that's the way to do it for now.
Yeah, the putt. Let's do the putt, baby.
So I found your Instagram, which is Funny Jones, or is it Funny Jonesy?
Funny Jones.
Funny Jones. And I went through there, and there's a lot of good stuff. And I definitely recommend anybody listen to this, my Instagram, Booze Your Daddy, BOOSYOURDADDY. But Funny Jones, the one that stuck out to me before we really get into it is you tagged something in 2013, Andy's Mints. You're like, oh, they still make these things? They're my favorite. They are number one. I rave about Olive Garden and how much I love it. And you get an Andy's mint when you leave. Just yeah, kudos. I don't have nothing more to say than I was like, we are kindred. This was meant to be. The whole Pittsburgh thing, you redeemed yourself after that.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really don't like the Pirates. I'm telling you, I really don't.
I know. It was just something. I'm not a big chocolate guy. I'm more of a peanut butter, but if I have to have it, it's mint all the way. So
yeah,
that was the one thing.
Baby.
Andy's Candies. Yeah. So
Man.
I wanted to give you a thumbs up on that.
Have you ever had, this is something similar to Andy's Candies, I always thought have you ever heard of grasshopper cookies?
Of course. Yeah. Well, they're Girl Scout mint cookies, just
correct,
made by Keebler. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but made by Keebler, you get them in the stores. Yeah. And so if you have a craving for the Girl Scout thin mints that you can't get them all year round, you know, your other option is the grasshopper cookies, which I've always been a big fan of. I love chocolate and mint together. I just think it's just a heavenly combination, you know. My favorite ice cream too, probably mint chip, I would have to say. I just love that combo so much.
I'm with you. You're preaching here. And if you want to take it one further, I don't know if you guys have Turkey Hill out there, but they make a mint chocolate cookies and cream ice cream. It's good.
Wow. Wow. I'm into it. I'm so into it.
Yeah, next time you're at the store, definitely.
We do have Turkey Hill. I know the brand. I got to look for that.
Look for that. Yeah, they also make a Blitzburg Crunch or something for the Steelers, so then I stopped buying Turkey Hill. So here, I'm going to go ahead and just insult one of our regular listeners, Mrs. Lolo Felso herself. You want another secret? S'mores, instead of going Hershey's chocolate, take an Andy's mint and make a s'more with that.
Oh, that sounds outstanding.
That's gonna offend most of the s'more listeners that are purists, but I've done it before. It's fantastic. I start to experiment with different flavors, different chocolates here and there, and Reese's Peanut Butter Cup is okay, but the Andy's s'mores, graham cracker marshmallow when you're camping, it's a crowd pleaser.
I'm all in on that. I'm all in.
Why not? So would you call yourself a professional comedian or a professional actor, or are they kind of mutually together?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do both. But I mostly tell people I'm a comedian just because I've done more of that. I've done that for longer as well. I started stand-up comedy before I got into acting. It brought me into acting because, it's just sort of something that I don't know. If you go to New York to be a stand-up comedian, you're gonna get opportunities to audition for certain things, and it just behooves you to take up acting, take some classes. If you, if you want to raise your profile, if you want to get on some TV shows,
right?
Because of course, you can get on a TV show, a talk show. You're kind of limited to just talk shows as a stand-up, but there's some other shows that are more have a larger audience that it would behoove you to try to get on as an actor and be a recognizable face. And of course, if the ultimate goal was always, if you can be a series regular on a TV show, that just ups your you could get paid more as a stand-up comic. You get more work as a stand-up comic. It all feeds into the stand-up comedy. And so I began acting for that purpose, but then I really just fell in love with it. And I've done quite a bit of it, but I do, to answer your question, mostly tell people I'm a comedian. Lately, I've been telling people I'm a podcaster because that's really all I got going on right now out of default, So, right. And for a while, it was kind of embarrassing to tell someone you're a podcaster, but now it's pretty cool. People are like, wow, you got a podcast? I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, if they knew how easy it would be just to make a podcast. But the hard part is making people listen, which is the skill, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And, I am about 2 months in now, and it's growing. It really is, and I'm so grateful. But at the same time, my friends are like, how hard could it be? I'm like, you get on here, you do it. You make people laugh every week. I put out 2 episodes a week, every Wednesday and Saturday. And it's a lot of work, and my friends appreciate it, and it's growing slowly. And I'm getting listeners from overseas, which I don't know how that happened, but I'm also grateful. Somebody in Lithuania has become a regular listener, and God bless. Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah. Isn't that something when you get people from in different countries listening to you? Like that never happened to me with stand up. I mean, I never, you know what I mean? I never thought I could touch people from that far away. I even have listeners in Africa as well. I mean, it blows me. New Zealand. I mean, very far away places. People are listening to my show as well, and it just that is really cool. Really cool. That's one of the best parts about the podcast is the far reach that you have.
Definitely. So I guess when my follow-up question is going to be, when did you decide that you wanted to be, or when did you decide you knew you were going to be a comedian? Because I'm sure your whole life you made people laugh during different times. Do you
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah. I was always funny
Yeah.
growing up, always funny. And fearless. I would say anything, anywhere. I didn't really respect social boundaries. So, but you got to kind of go for it as a comedian to, you can't really pay attention to those social boundaries. You got to kind of say what you think will get the laugh. Of course, it can also get you in trouble. It can go the other way, as we
Oh,
see happening in the
yes.
culture a lot, a lot. So I had it was one of my, a roommate in freshman year of college was trying to be a comic. He went to this open mic, and I didn't even know you could do that. I'm like, what? You comedy open mic? What? You just go and tell jokes? This is in Boston. I didn't know those existed. So I'll go with you. I'll watch. He wanted somebody to watch him. I'll watch him, and I watched him, and he was terrible, and so was everybody else. And I got wow, like wow, everybody's awful. Like, okay, I mean, how hard could this be? And then of course we went back to the apartment, and him and I went over his jokes, and I I felt like I was contributing to the improvement of his bits. And I thought, well, this is the process. We go back and talk about it, and you're going to go next week and try the changes that we just discussed. I can do this. I mean, I'm already sort of doing it. So then I jumped into the fray and tried it as well. And of course, it didn't go very well. Of course, it never really does your first time unless you're Dave Chappelle. But, most of the time you struggle in the beginning. But it was so fun. It was so thrilling and scary. And I've always been somebody who likes a thrill. And so my friend eventually dropped out of doing it, and I just kept doing it. And I went to New York to do it on a serious tip, and just haven't stopped. And that was in like 2004.
Wow. So, and it's taken you, 16 years to get where you are right now, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, which is a long time.
I
But
don't think it
everybody.
is, though. I really don't, because I think that it takes anybody that long. No, I'm a doctor. I have my own practice. It took me 3 to 4 hard years all day, every day before I could sleep at night. And as far as, I was putting in 40 to 60 hours a week as far as what I was doing, plus everything. I know professionals that have taken them many, 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 many years. I don't think 10 years is that long before you get where you got to go in the entertainment field.
Yeah, well, and then a lot of the heavy hitters have been at it 20 years before they make it, like the Bill Burrs and the Louis C.K.'s and these sorts of people. They'll tell you straight, 20 years before you're really something. And so I think about that too, and I thought it's not so bad. I'm nearing that 20-year mark, I guess, in 5 years or so, and I'll be hopefully, much improved. Because I seem to get better the older I get. My ideas are better. My jokes are richer, and they go deeper, and they're more truthful, and they're more autobiographical. I'm taking risks. I'm sharing more. I'm telling secrets. I never would have dared to do these things at the beginning. I was just talking about my dick for the first couple of years, like really not going deep with the material at all. But now I'm talking about, I'm telling secrets up there, and I'm confessing, and it's and I do more and more of that as I get older, and I get deeper into the craft, I think.
Right.
So I can't complain. Everybody has their own pace as well of how they make it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you can strike lightning, but I think it takes a lot of work. So I was going to ask you, do you ever go back and look at some of your old stuff and just cringe, or you're like, I got to keep moving. I'm not looking at that anymore.
I cannot go back too far. It really, like I got some. I was just recently cleaned up my YouTube channel, which is Funny Jones, if anyone's curious. And I took off. I made a lot of those videos private that were previously published. There were a lot of old stand-up videos that I looked at them again, and we're not going back too far. Maybe 2014,
Okay.
13, maybe not too far. 6 years ish. And even then, it was so cringe. Even 6 years ago, I was just so cringe. Like you described it. It's cringe, whatever you said. That was the perfect description. That's exactly how it was.
Yeah, I have some videos that I started putting out because I kind of started more towards just trying to be educational, physical therapist, and there's a million of them out there online. And even my first couple of videos, I'm so stiff, and I'm looking at myself, and I had to videotape myself a couple of times in my school in undergrad and in graduate school. And when you watch yourself, it's painful. It is so, so painful to when you first get started. And I've been debating on if I should delete some of my early videos, but it's like, you know what? People can go online and see where I was, where I started.
Sure.
As far as like talking and storytelling, I have a huge advantage because I'm working with people all day. All my material gets tested. Now, I have never taken the plunge and gotten up on stage, although I'd love to do it when we get back. And I've been really debating, and I just don't have the time to do it. But I have patience all day, every day, and I rehearse, and I have my bits down. And I have a couple of stories, and there's specifically one that I went to Greece last year with my girlfriend. I'll probably tell us on another podcast. And if you were there, it was the funniest thing ever. And I have told this story to at least 40, 50 times. I have it down to a science, and it never gets a laugh. And my girlfriend always goes, you got to tell them the story. You got to tell them. And I said, Julia, it doesn't get a laugh. It doesn't. I was there. We laughed our heads off. So my question to you as a professional is, how long before you bail on a joke? How long before you bail on a bit where you've tried it, you think it's great, and the audience just doesn't laugh ever?
This is such a great question, Alan. I'm so glad you asked this. It just shows that, that your familiarity with the craft, which I appreciate. I'll tell you, depending how much I like the idea, depends on how long it takes before I bail. Because there are some bits that just don't work, but I still like the idea and I still keep trying to rearrange it. I say, well, maybe I change the setup. Maybe, I always think to myself, there's a reason why they're not laughing. This is funny. I can get them to laugh. Maybe they need more information. And I'll even ask other comics or other regular friends of mine. I'm like, listen to this bit. Do you need more information to understand what's going on here? Or I'll say, doesn't everybody know what an Amber Alert is? Right? Everybody, like, let's say I'm doing a joke. I do have a bit about Amber Alerts. Does everybody know what an Amber Alert is? Correct. Okay, so that's not the issue. So what's the issue? People don't like, I struggle with this Amber Alert bit. I got it to work finally, but I was discovering that people had a hard time laughing at the Amber Alert bit because it seemed to me, the Amber Alert serves a purpose in our culture to save a child. And so they felt odd, I think, laughing at this. And so this bit had to be really well crafted to get people to laugh. And even still now, although it's probably one of my favorite bits, it doesn't work 100% of the time for that reason still, but I worked so damn hard at it that I got it working, 80% of the time, getting people to laugh at something they should not laugh at, probably. They feel weird about it. I can't tell you how many times people come up to me after a show, and they go, man, I can't believe you had me laughing at you made fun of Amber Alerts, and yet I was laughing at it, and I know I shouldn't have. And yes, that was a challenge for me. And I enjoyed that challenge. And as I get better at this craft, I'm able to do things like that. Not every time with every bit, but with that one, I really believed in it and I liked it. So I kept at it, but it took me a long time. And like I said, it depends on how interested in the bit I am. If it's something that's just, it's kind of a throwaway thing, I'm not crazy about it. I do it once, twice, they don't laugh. Fuck it. I'm not going to spend any more time because there's a lot of pain that goes through working it out. The pain of speaking through silence, which is just hard. It just kills you, man. It of course it gets easier as I get older and the more I get on stage, I can do it, because I've pushed through the silence many times now. But it's still, there's still a part of you that seems to die a little bit each time.
Mm-hmm.
You do feel the burn no matter how long you've been doing it. And so if I'm not really into what I'm talking about, the subject, and I really don't want to make that point, I will abandon it after a couple times. I feel that burn. Everybody's different though. Some comics, when they're younger, of course, they're scared right away. It's like once bitten, twice shy. So when I was younger, I would, it didn't work. It didn't work. And it's like, no, spend more time on that. In fact, I'll look back at bits that didn't work that I eventually abandoned. And then now I have new skills, cause I'm more seasoned. I can go back into that bit and finesse it now. I recognized that I was too scared. It bombed twice and I abandoned it, but the idea was still very rich and very good, and there was a lot to mine there. I might even resurrect it and use my knowledge and experience now to make that bit work if I think there's something there. I hope that answers your question. It's a very
Yeah.
complicated
Yeah,
answer.
yeah, definitely. No, it was just
Everybody's
something
different.
everybody's different. I mean, the story that I've always heard is, Chris Rock's famous bit, his best joke ever, what the difference between a black man and the N-word. I'm definitely not saying, do you know the joke? Yeah, I'm
Yep.
not getting into it.
Everybody knows that bit.
But the rumor is that struggled for about a year to 2 years. And then he was like, no, there's something there. Like, I can make it work. And it's one of his most famous bits. And it's one of his best jokes ever. And
that's a long time.
That's a long
to make it work.
time. But I think he was a little more established then, where he had that luxury and he could put that in the middle there and kind of dance around it quickly. And I guess I'm just always curious to hear what people say, because I don't know if you've ever done this, but I've gone to enough amateur shows, even some professional shows, and I want to give the comedians respect, but there's been some times that I've really wanted to talk to them after the show and be like, buddy, this isn't for you. Like, this is not for you.
Yeah,
and
I see.
I have zero clout in anything, and nobody should ever listen to me, but I've gone to some shows here, and sometimes it was just like, I'll just name names. I don't care. I saw Janine Garofalo perform recently, and
she's always at Eastville.
She's out there. I think
in New York.
Her acting was fantastic. I loved her movies, but her stand-up comedy just doesn't work. And then I start telling people, and they go, yeah, I saw her once, and it was really weird too. She's somebody who has a name that I don't know if it works, but I've seen some amateur people where they're just getting started, and you can tell that something's there. You're like, okay, this is going to take some time. But then there's been some other people I've been like, oh man, you really should re-enroll in school. Like, this is not for you. So
that's a thing to consider. And there's you're using Janine as an example. I don't really have an opinion about her stuff really, except for it might be too political for some people. There's a thing going on though, where, especially in LA, where the stages at the clubs here, you'll often see someone who's TV famous, but really not that skilled of a stand-up. They're on the stage not for their stand-up ability, but because they're a recognizable face from television or film or something, or maybe even an athlete of some sort. And it seems to me like a lot of times the audience will still go see them out here, because when they come to LA, I can't say that this maybe is, you could say the same for New York, but when tourists come to LA, they want to see somebody famous. So they go to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, right? Then they find out right away that you're not going to see anybody famous over there, right? Nobody's over there.
Right.
So what's an easy way to see somebody that's been on TV? Well, you could go to the Comedy Store or the Improv, and eventually on one of those primetime shows, somebody from television will take the stage, someone that you probably recognize. They may not be great at stand-up comedy, but they're delivering something else. That because that person that came from Olathe, Kansas, wants to go, when they go home from their LA trip, what are people going to ask them? Hey, you went to Hollywood? Did you see anybody famous? And they should have a story. Yes, I saw somebody famous. I saw so-and-so get on stage and tell jokes at the Comedy Store, whoever it might be, Mark Maron or, whoever. And so because of that market creates a situation. Now, I'm not saying that's what you experience, but I notice it in LA especially, that you will often, if you do go to a club out here, you'll see some great comics. That's what they do. But you also see some TV people who are just kind of okay at stand-up. And when, and there is something to be gotten out of that. Those tourists that bought the ticket can go home and, of course, say that they saw that person. So they get something out of it. Not always the best stand-up, though.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I guess I was kind of, and I don't ever want you to badmouth anybody. My next question kind of relates to that. I've worked with some celebrities. I've worked with some athletes. Most of them are kind of unimpressive, whatever. I'm curious in anybody in your travels that you were just blown away by. You're like, wow. Because here in New York, the rumor is always Keanu Reeves is the coolest guy ever. If you ever see him on the subway, say what's up. He'll talk to you. Apparently, he's the nicest, most down-to-earth person. And I can name names of people that are not. So I guess I was just curious, in your travels, in your performance, was there anybody that really you're just like blown away? Like, oh my God, like, wow, you're really freaking cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, there's two people, but I'll just tell you one. Uh, I met Bruce Springsteen in on Christopher Street in New York City, outside an open mic, a cafe. I was doing an open mic years ago, just sitting out there, and he just kind of walked up and asked what was going on in the cafe, and just had a conversation with Bruce Springsteen. It was unbelievable how cool he was, just talking whatever, whatever. And at the time, I was dating a girl who had family in Asbury Park, and I had gone to Asbury Park a few times. And Bruce is like famous for Asbury Park, New Jersey. He's, he's from the area. There's a music. He played music there forever and ever. It's just kind of his place. And I told him about that, and we discussed, the changes that have gone in that area over the decades. And he was very knowledgeable about the history of it. And we had this conversation about Asbury Park, and like, he was so cool, man.
That's pretty cool. The Boss. I mean, anybody from Jersey, when you say Bon Jovi or Springsteen, they get a little wet. I mean, they get very excited.
Something funny happened at the end of this conversation. Like, and then the guy who was hosting the mic came out, and he, he was a really nice guy. We were both talking to Bruce, and he asked Bruce if he'd like to go in and play a tune on the mic, and Bruce turned it down. And we were both talking to him, and then all of a sudden, Bruce's wife emerged, not too pleased that he was lingering, because they were supposed to go pick up his daughter, who goes to like a private school around that area, which is like the West Village. And, she had to drag him. Wait, this is where you are? I've been looking for you. And then I looked at my buddy. I go, you see, even the boss has a boss. That was a great, I'll never forget the time that he took to chat with us on Christopher Street. Very busy, it's a very busy street, man.
Oh, it's very busy, especially for a lot of good-looking dudes down there that you could get picked up on. But you got picked up by the boss for a minute.
I got picked up by the boss, man. Oh my, it was so amazing. And I took this weird photo. I didn't ask him to take a photo with me, so instead I just took this weird photo where the angle was me sitting. I was sitting on the bench, and he was standing, and so it's this like upward shot of the boss talking to me, and it's a weird photo, but I just love it so much.
Awesome.
I'll never ever forget that moment meeting the boss on Christopher Street in New York City. That was so dope. So dope.
Very cool, man. Very cool. So, your original pitch, I guess what I saw online was you had this crazy experience in Singapore, and you've probably talked about it a million times. So I just had a couple of questions, I guess, related to Singapore itself. So I've never been there. I went to China a couple of years ago. My girlfriend is half Asian, which I didn't know until we went on our first date, and she told me her mom's Cambodian. I thought she was Italian or Hispanic. I had no idea. She doesn't look very Asian. Her dad's a white guy, regular old white guy. So when I told her I was going to speak with you tonight, she said, you have to ask him if it was Crazy Rich Asians. Was everybody over there Crazy Rich Asians? Were they eating the street food constantly? What was it like just being there, I guess, is my big question.
Well, it's extremely humid, which I found very annoying. I mean, imagine being in Florida, which I'm sure you've experienced, which is just this uncomfortable humidity. You just feel like you're walking around with a wet blanket on the entire time. So there's that about Singapore. You need to know that it's right on the equator, basically, and it is humid as hell. It is the most urban country in the world. It is 17 by 35 square miles, all urban. It is just buildings and city and concrete as far as the eye can see. It's the most urban country in the world. So it's that. It's a very humid city, very city. Most people are wealthy. It's just the thing there. Crazy Rich Asians. Yeah, they're on.
So the stereotype definitely held up when you were there.
Correct.
All
correct.
Right.
Most people seem to be wealthy in Singapore. Very wealthy place. The streets are so clean. There is very little crime. I never seen such a clean, safe place in my life. It blows your mind. There's so little crime in Singapore that occasionally on a street corner there will be a sign that's been placed there by the police, like a billboard, to let you know that a crime one time happened here. So just, you'll walk by, the sign will be like, hey, everybody, attention, alert, on this spot in 2017, somebody knocked over a trash bin. So be careful. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but there are these signs I posted these signs on my Instagram. I thought they were hilarious. I would stand next to these signs. It was like it was a purse snatcher here in 2013. That's a little crime that there is there.
Except, from what I understand, there is a spitting fine. You get fined actually if you hock a loogie down the street. Yeah.
Yeah, they talk about that, but I think it's been exaggerated. I don't see that probably not happening too much anymore. It's kind of like the gum situation. There was a time when Singapore had made chewing gum illegal, and now they've kind of opened that up and relaxed a bit. I
Okay.
think they're having a lot of cyber crime over there. So I think the police are on to more important things, which is good because you don't want to be caned for chewing gum,
Or if
but
you're into that, if you're into getting caned, then maybe you
or
should
if you're
go
into getting caned and you want to chew gum and blow a bubble and shove it in a cop's face, you could do that too as well. Yeah, there's other things going on there, but yes, it is. I mean, it's so clean, man. I mean, you really could eat, fish and chips right off the concrete. I swear to God,
Wow.
it's
See,
fabulous.
because China, it's the exact opposite. It's
I
people
heard,
spitting. It's dirty. It's
yes,
disgusting. The food was incredible there, and you can eat it so often. And I also saw on your Instagram that at one point you just went to a Shake Shack to get a burger. Either
I
that was
did.
in, and I can't tell you how much I respect that because when I travel, I went to Greece, and Greece is known for the best food in the world. I have a friend who's Italian. She says my grandfather will kill me if you repeat this, but I think Greece was much better for food. That's awesome. About day 6, I went to a McDonald's. I said I can't do any more gyros. I can't. So the fact that you were over there, and when I was
Yeah,
in China, we did China, Hong Kong, and then we went to Macau. Now Macau is a
yeah.
Portuguese settlement. So we were able to get so much food there that I hadn't had in so long, including dairy. So I got some real pizza. I got a lamb chop type of thing, and I was just so happy. And the food was great in China. It really was. Best duck you'll ever have. But at some point, you just need something different. You can't keep eating the same crap.
I was eating a lot of weird stuff. Was what was going on, and so it was nice to have something fairly normal. That's what that whole Shake Shack experience was. Just have something kind of familiar and normal. And I admit I like their burgers, man. I mean, I think their burgers are better than In-N-Out and
Oh, this
most of
conversation's over. No
most of these.
way.
I love it. I love a Shake Shack burger, man. I really love them. So when I saw the Shake Shack, it reminded me of New York, and I had to just
I think that's what you were experiencing because I had Shake Shack the other day. And when it comes to ranking, because the argument is Five Guys, Shake Shack, and In-N-Out, I
yeah,
go.
Five Guys is
The correct
everybody's.
answer to this question is you get the toppings from In-N-Out, you get the bun from Shake Shack, and you get the burger from Five Guys. If you could put that all together, so my ranking is In-N-Out, Five Guys, Shake Shack, but I'm not kicking Shake Shack out of bed either.
Yeah. That was it. And that Shake Shack was brand new in Singapore. It was like it had just opened up that week, and so I thought, hey, why not? Run in there, get some fries and a burger. Yeah, that's what that was. Because I was eating weird stuff, and in Singapore, uh, in Southeast Asia in general, there's a lot of spice going on. I mean, they just throw chili sauce and chili spice on everything, and I was just getting like, can I just have some? Like, to me, the burger was very plain compared to what I was eating.
Right.
I'm like, it was actually like it was tame compared to all the crap I was eating. My stomach needed a break. The break was a was
The
a
break was
burger.
a burger. Yeah, we
Can you
have that
imagine?
here. No, we,
Yeah.
we go to ramen and I get the non-spicy ramen, and I am not a wuss when it comes to the spice department. Non-spicy ramen here will light your asshole on fire. I mean, we do hot pot. I can't do it anymore. That over there, it's a joke. It is a joke how spicy things get, and
Yep.
I couldn't do it too much. Now, my last thing, how long were you actually there for? Because I think you said you kind of got stuck there, right?
I was there for quite a while. I went I was there from January 19th until March 9th. So over a
How
month.
how much
Not
longer? How much longer was that than the anticipated trip?
No, that was the anticipated
Oh, it
trip.
was okay.
I was doing 4 countries. Uh, but of course, my plans were a little bit derailed because I had shows lined up. But that was in the middle of the beginnings of the pandemic outbreak in these other countries.
Right.
Like when I was in Taipei, that was when they had their first case of the virus, and when I was in Singapore, they were also having their first case of the virus. I happened to be in all these countries as they had their first case, and so a
Oh,
lot of
sounds like patient zero might have been holding the microphone sitting across.
yeah, maybe
right
it was
now.
me. It was me, guys. And these countries, by the way, they didn't treat it as casually as we did. They've got very serious right away. So a few cases was enough for them to go, okay, no restaurants, no bars,
No
everybody
soup
stay
for
home.
you. We done. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. We're all done. Wear a mask, and everybody did so. So I witnessed my shows, get kind of shut down in some of these places because they were preparing for the worst, and you see the fallout of the whole thing is there's 0 cases now in Taiwan, and Japan's got their shit together. Singapore's like under 100 cases, and they're now fully opened up. Malaysia's better as well. They shut down their borders completely like
Wow.
2 days after I left. I would have been stuck there. So yeah, these countries, they handled it pretty well. I watched firsthand how they did, and at the time I thought it was an overreaction. But then I got back to the States in March, and I was like, wow, we could have used a little bit of that overreaction. We got people going on spring break in Florida to the beach. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. You mean Trump didn't do a good job? What?
No, can you believe it?
What? Get out of here. Awesome. All right, dude. Well, plug your stuff. Tell people what they should be listening and following you on.
Oh, well, you mentioned my Instagram, Funny Jones. That's pretty much all I usually plug if you want to follow me, what I'm doing. Normally I would put my show dates on the Instagram as well. But right now I don't have any shows for the rest of the year, it seems. So hopefully that'll pick up in 2021. Meanwhile, I'm just doing my podcast, Weird AF News. It's a 5-day-a-week weird news podcast. And on Friday, I only do weird news out of Florida. It's called Florida Friday.
That should be easy.
I do the news from the week that came out of Florida. That's weird. And, it gets twice as many downloads as any other episode because people just can't get enough of hearing degenerate Florida news, apparently.
Well, that was the thing. Remember, it was type in, I think, like Florida and your first name, and you have to post whatever comes first.
Oh, no. Well, you type in your birthday in Florida,
okay.
And then whatever Florida crazy headline came up.
Okay.
Florida man and your birthday and whatever crazy Florida man, and everybody's got one because every day some crazy shit has happened in Florida. So and my podcast just covers the Florida on the Fridays, but people seem to love that. The podcast itself has been growing. I'm at almost 800 episodes and 1 million downloads. It's been something I just hit 3 years doing it. And so I always tell people, if you're tired of mainstream news, like give Weird AF News a chance because
love it.
Mainstream news will really get you down. My news will make you laugh. And I think people need that right now in their lives. I've gotten a lot of feedback from people specifically during the pandemic who are like, bro, thanks for continuing to do your daily weird news podcast. It's helped me get through this nonsense, man. Appreciate it because the mainstream news brings me down. But you're giving me a better option.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to check it out. I hope all listeners check it out. Jonesy, thanks for being on. I really appreciate having you, man.
Alan, I had a blast. I hope your listeners appreciate this episode. They get something out of it, a little bit of entertainment, learn a little bit about me and the world. And please check out my podcast if you think that weird news might be for you.
All right, dude. Take it easy.
Thank you, bro.